Hello and welcome to this week's look at the world of action and stunts on film and television. How are you? Welcome to 1978 and a little classic that's had a bit of a resurgence of late because it's been celebrated all over again thanks to Showcase Cinemas and a brand new book by Tony Earnshaw entitled 50 Men in the Valley of Death. And it is the making of the movie The Wild Geese. It coincides with the movie coming out and being on re-release at cinemas up and down the country. Many of us who are fans of the picture and who were over 50 and never caught it round the first time on cinema, but have watched it endlessly on television or on DVD or on video cassette, which is where, of course, I saw it first. Then, we will have gone and watched it in its glorious 4K as it is now, and it looks really good. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it always looked good, but it looks particularly good. I heard a number of people saying it looked like it was made yesterday, which is exactly what the whole point is. It looks absolutely stunning. And it's a real joy to go back and see it again on the big screen. It's one of those box ticking exercises, my dad has always been a big fan of it. We go and see a lot of movies together. We watch a lot of movies together. And we've seen this umpteen times on DVD, streaming, wherever it is. But we've never seen it on the big screen. So when we get an opportunity to do so, we go and see it. I never got to see it because I was 6 when it came out. But I certainly remember the movie vividly. Dad didn't remember it vividly, but remembered a bunch of bits and pieces. And of course, it's got one of these terrific casts. The Richard Harris, Roger Moore, Hardy Kruger, and Stuart Granger, plus a whole cast of fabulous British character actors. It's a joy. It's an absolute joy, and it gave me an opportunity to reappraise it, revisit it. I did. When did I do this movie? I did this movie 4 years ago on this channel when I was a few stone heavier, and when I looked at the video and I thought, "My God, who's that?" Oh, it's me. So yeah, we did it 4 years ago. We get an opportunity to have a look at it again, and with a brand new voiceover this time, because there was a few bits and pieces that we weren't sure of maybe the first time round. And well, here it comes. So we'll have a look at that, and then we will regroup afterwards, and we'll take it from there. All right, here we go. We see the attack on the sentries. Hardy Kruger is using a crossbow, hardwood quarrels, cyanide tipped, fired bang in there. And this is Clive Curtis doing the high part of the fall. Now, you'll note in the top right-hand corner is a foot, which means the landing, he starts in the standing position. Bit of camera trickery. There's George Leach on the right-hand side with Richard Harris about to break in and try and get President Limbani out, who is being held in there. But gunfire happens here, and the guard who is alarmed there is Clive Curtis, and Clive Curtis is then attacked by stuntman Jazza Jays, who is doubling for Hardy Kruger and has to deposit him. Lousy shot. It's a lousy shot. Luckily, all of these, you find out a great many of these Simbas better with swords, lousy shots, and they must get him out. Now, there's a number of little action moments along the way, and this is one of the major ones. Roger Moore is at the airport, and with his team, we'll come back to Roger in a moment, he's in position. Now, at the airport, the rest of the troops must get rid of the Simbas that are there waiting. They turn up, and this is where they all are, led by Jack Watson here, look. Try and reconnoitre the area. Now, in this group here on the left-hand side, you'll see they have a quick peer in to see what they're up against and find a room full of Simbas. The interesting thing here, of course, it's filmed in Britain, and all of these stuntmen in this room, with the exception of one, are all white. Chris Webb, Tim Condren, Rocky Taylor, Jazza Jays, Greg Powell, Clive Curtis, George Cooper, Martin Grace. Clive Curtis, the only black stuntman in the room. There weren't any in 1978. He was the only one. The next stuntman that came along who was black was in 1987. So it was a long time to wait. And so when you have a movie like this, you have absolutely no alternative but to use the men that you have. And that's the situation that you have here. And again, we're only highlighting it for the purpose of saying, look, they're all stuntmen because of the scene that's coming on. And here's the action moment here. There on the left-hand side is Richard Graydon. A grenade is thrown into the room. There's a flashbang, and then everything goes. And they dive in and they finish them off. And it's a big explosion. You know, there's stuff happening about all over the place. You can see if you look closely that Greg here, who's closest to the camera, has padding on. Now, this is the section. Martin Grace there, shot, and over the balcony. There he goes. Now we'll just check that out in a different angle. He comes along, hits his mark, shot, throws the gun away, and has to get over that balcony by jumping and flipping and then landing in the boxes below. So now let's join Greg Powell and Rocky Taylor, seen here driving Richard Burton and Richard Harris on location as they tell us all about their time filming the Wild Geese.
People will ask me, what film did I really like working on? And that always comes to mind is the Wild Geese. I mean, I've worked with a lot of actors like a lot of other guys, but Richard Burton, what a great actor to work with, you know.
Yeah.
Roger Moore, who I've known since a kid because Dad used to work on The Saints. Richard Harris, of course, who I worked again with on Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Hardy Kruger, Jack Watson. You know, and I've become very friendly with Andrew McLagan, who was the director of that film. It was just a great atmosphere on that film because we was out in the Northern Transvaal in Africa. So everyone was on location. Everyone was at the same resort. So when you went out in the evening, you all went to the same bar. You went to the same restaurant, and you actually mixed together. And we was there for, I think it was like 9 weeks out there. And everyone on their days off used to spend around the pool, or it was a great spa back then.
Yeah.
So it was just, you'd be sitting there talking to Richard Burton on the day off. On one particular, Richard Harris, Rocky, myself, I think it may have been Chris Chattel, was sitting in the bar, late one, everyone had gone to bed, and Richard Harris ordered 24 Irish coffees. And we sort of looked round, who's that for? It went us. And we carried on drinking Irish coffee that night. But that was the sort of job, we used to, they used to have these villas on top of the wheel. We used to walk back with them, when you could hear Richard Harris coming from like 100 yards away because he bought the walking sticks, which would suddenly become snake sticks.
Oh, right.
And he'd be walking down from his villa up in the woods, smashing trees about just to get rid of snakes, but they wouldn't touch you anyway. But if you disturb them, they're going to go for it. And he must have disturbed loads of them because there was a 4-foot path to his villa. By the time we finished that film, it was like 15 foot wide to pieces.
Bob said, do you want to come away on the Wild Geese, Rocky? I went, Wild Geese? What's that film? I mean, I'd love to. And he got us all together. There was about 10 of us, if I remember. And the greatest thing is that when Richard Harris came in, we all kept talking and saying, Roger came in, hello, Roger, how are you? And all the stars came in. And when Burton came in, and he looked spectacular in his white shorts and white jumper, suntan, and we all looked up, and there he was, and the whole of the restaurant all put their knives and forks down and stopped eating. It all went quiet. Before all the stuff, we all got there, and all the stuntmen were called by Bob Simmons to come and sit down in the courtyard, and we were introduced to all the actors, all the stars.
Yep.
And I'm sitting down cross-legged, like on the floor, all the stuntmen there, and all of a sudden I remember Burton coming up and going, I want to speak to Rocky Taylor. And I went, oh, man, I put my hand up. I said, that's me, sir. Hello, sir, that's me. He said, Rocky, yes. He said, know your father very, very well. Just want to say hello and welcome. That was nice.
I know there's a scene in the picture where obviously you're driving one of the trucks with Richard Harris, and there is also a scene where you die or you get shot at Richard Burton's feet.
That's right. I get shot by that was out in the bush.
Yes,
I'm sitting there like that and bang, I get shot. It looked very vicious. But
it did, and of course Burton does a bit of a double take and then runs off because he's realised he's in the line of fire. I guess
he's in the line of fire. That's right. He looked at me and pushed me away, and I dropped down dead.
So the bridge sequence, there's that big fire sequence on there. Were you involved in that?
The big fire sequence on the fire sequence. Greg Powell was driving the truck for that one.
Yep.
And it all blows up, and we all dive off the bridge into the water or into boxes, I think it was. Maybe it was water. Right. So about 8 of us all dived off the bridge with a great big explosion, massive explosion.
It was huge. It looked massive. I've seen
it. Was. Well, it was supposed to be an ammunition truck.
Okay. Was it Les Bowie was the action?
Les Bowie, that's right. Yeah, yeah. God almighty. Yeah, he was a wonderful guy. Everybody was frightened of him.
Because he was, I think initially I seem to remember him suggesting that for the actual shot on the bridge where the guys are on fire, that he would use his fire jacket where it had like a ring in the back of it. But I don't think I don't believe that finally happened. It was...
No, not that I can remember.
It was gel, was it?
It was gel, yeah. We used gel.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to ask you was there's some extraordinary explosions that go on during the course of all of that as well, later on, and of course there's trampoline explosions. Were you involved in those?
I did a couple of trampoline bangs, yes, because they were, you tread on them, they throw you up in the air when the explosion goes. Yeah, they were very, very effective. They were a bit dangerous. If you didn't hit them right, you could break your back, so you had to make sure you hit them right.
But these were trampolines, though. This wasn't a case of... This is long before an air ram or something of that nature.
Oh, yeah, you ran along, jumped on the tram, and as you hit the tram, they blew it.
Right, so it was the special effects guy was timing it.
Special effects was timing us running along, seriously going in the air and then hit the ground. As we hit the ground, we came back up. And as we came back up, that's when he put the bomb in. So it looks like he's blown us from behind.
And those explosions from behind were very effective. Here's Martin Grace trying out a mid-air gymnastic move before hitting the box rig. This has always been one of my favorites. It's just the idea of this big parachute sequence, the skydiving sequence. And when I interviewed John Glenn many moons ago, and he said that he was in another plane on this side and they had to communicate with the plane that side, and he said, look, just throw a newspaper out so I know that we'll get the camera rolling when the newspaper comes out and we'll get everybody on shot. And it's a wonderful sequence. Far right hand side of the picture, George Cooper leaning down, knows the blast is happening. Right in front of him is Greg Powell. The explosion is the far side. There's a number of guys in that explosion. Clive Curtis, the only black guy in there. Everybody else has to be blacked up. That's the way it is back then. And there's somebody falling through the ceiling. Do you see that there? Somebody falling through the ceiling. That's only caught at the last moment. Everybody's padded up. It's a remarkable sequence. It really is. On the bridge, this is a great sequence as well because, as I remember, Les Bowie set this whole thing up, this huge explosion. And at either end of the bridge where they were doing the gag, there was paddling pools. They didn't have enough fire extinguishers. They didn't have enough fire extinguishers to get out to the guys on the bridge, particularly those guys being set on fire. Greg was one, Rocky was another, and George Cooper the other side. And when you got done, and that's it, you couldn't take anymore, you simply had to run to the nearest inflatable paddling pool at one end and put yourself out. And that's how it went back then. Never mind your health and safety. Well, we're talking a long way away from health and safety at this point. But that was the sequence. That's what used to happen. So tricky times indeed. Big explosions as well, with great trampoline gags. Look at the height this guy's got here. It was absolutely spectacular. Another one from this end here, with just as the explosion's setting off. absolutely sensational. Really first-class action by Bob Simmons. That bridge sequence is absolutely memorable. Really, really memorable stuff. The three heroes, that's always a great favourite of mine, that particular sequence. And this is what's happening. This is what it's all about. You get the Blu-ray. You get the book. 50 Men in the Valley of the Shadow, right? That's the book. So you get that. You get the Blu-ray. You get the special discs. You get the extras, the book. I can't wait to look at the book. I think the book's going to be very, very exciting. A making of, with contributions from practically everybody who has worked on that, on the film. And there are so many wonderful stories. There are so many wonderful things. There are so many wonderful things happening. George Cooper, of course, remembering his time on the bridge when he was with Greg, and saying that being a bald man, he always used to get a lot of sun on his head. Had to keep his hat on for a large period of time, and of course wasn't always if it wasn't for the makeup, you could see that he was getting burnt quite a lot. Factor back in those days, you would be out, you would be expected to soak up sun and go brown. Nobody understands, of course, that you had to go pinky and then bright red and then really angry red before you went brown. So there was a period of time where the top of his head was in a right old state. He was really in a right old state, but had to get that sorted out. But this is absolutely key. This will be a really, really important piece of memorabilia. It'll be an important read to read about this very, very important film. 47 years ago, right? 47 years ago. But I think it's massively important that a book like this comes out now. There are so many stories. There are so many wonderful things connected with this film. And it's certainly something that I will be looking forward to very much in getting my hands on, most certainly. And this, if you haven't heard Tony Earnshaw talk about this, there's a very fine podcast. I'm a fan of this, Fighting on Film. It is episode 242 of their show, The Making of the Wild Geese. They talk about the military standards involved within the army itself, the interesting different styles of fighting from the different types of mercenary, because they would all be from different regimental backgrounds. And of course Tony talks you through his understanding of the book, how it came about, some of the wonderful interviews that he's done. And I genuinely think that this is going to be something that people are going to be talking about 20, 30 years from now, as the most important book. Oh, you want to know something about the Wild Geese? Have you got Tony Earnshaw's book? Well, you need to get a copy of that. There's probably still one knocking about, that sort of thing. So very excited to get a hold of that. And I think you should get one too if you're a fan of the Wild Geese. 47 years ago, it came out in 1978. They just don't make movies. Well, no, that's not entirely true. They do make movies like this. But these movies, at the time, they had a proper all-star cast. Nowadays, you kind of bring people in left, right, and centre. I'm very reminded of Expendables, or Expandables, as I like to call them, seeing as their waistband gets slightly bigger every movie. But those type of movies, not a million miles away from here. Having said that, this very much is something that I think is, there was talk a number of years ago about this getting another version being made. I think it's very important to understand that when you check out on the IMDb, somebody's bought the rights to this, and there isn't any action apparently at the moment looking into that, but the rights have been purchased. But if there was ever a movie, I know they keep making movies, they keep remaking movies left, right and centre, many movies that you never want made ever again because they're utter nonsense from start to finish and probably shouldn't have been made the first time. But if there was ever a movie that could do with a third installment, this could be it. Not taking the Wild Geese and redoing it. No. We've had the Wild Geese. We've had Wild Geese 2. It's been long enough for there to consider a third Wild Geese outing and being part of this, maybe it become a trilogy of pictures. And I think that would be excellent if somebody would come up with a really good script for that. There are actors out there at the present time who might just be able to take it on. But this is what it's all about: celebrating the movie, enjoying the movie on the big screen, and reading the book, Tony Earnshaw's book. Go and check it out there on Fighting on Film. Well worth a listen. Well, that's it. The book looks fabulous. The making of, don't forget to catch that particular podcast, that Fighting on Film. It's a good interview with Tony. We'll talk you through a great deal of the book, what you can look forward to or expect to see. And with a bit of luck, you'll have copies of that very soon. I don't know whether it's a limited run. It's not terribly sure. I'm not terribly sure whether that's a limited run or not. It would be nice if they are number limited, but it should be one of those movies that should be made available to everybody. So you get the pack, you get the Blu-ray, you get the book, and you get loads of extras and other bits and pieces, which is very important. Extras are what it's all about. Live commentary is what it's all about as well. We like all of that. And I think it's terrific. If there is a possibility of me doing Wild Geese 2, I will do it. I've had requests, but copyright on this particular picture is extraordinary. There are movies that I do which I think, I'm going to have trouble here, and sail through the copyright problems. But Wild Geese 2, I've had a crack at a couple of times just in testing beforehand, and it hates it. I mean, it really doesn't like it at all. So it's very, very stringent. But hopefully I will be able to get an opportunity to get around it. And we will see if we can come up with something along those lines. We'll get the double bill done. So that's the plan. More next week. We've also had a lovely new delivery of stuff delivered for the archive. I will talk you through that as well. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It's down there somewhere. The Linktree link is in the notes if you want to follow us on all the social medias. And until next time, it's bye for now.